Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's myosh webinar, Safety Leadership Moving Beyond Compliance to Culture Change. My name is Christina, and I will be your host for this session. We are absolutely thrilled to kick off our first webinar of the year with a topic that is critical to every organisation: how we can move beyond a compliance-driven approach to safety and create a culture where safety is seen as an investment rather than a cost. Joining us today is Dr. Brett Solomon, a principal consultant at Sentis. Brett brings a wealth of experience in safety leadership and workplace psychology, helping organisations shift their safety mindset and build environments where employees feel empowered to take ownership of their safety and wellbeing. Now, throughout today's session, Brett will challenge traditional views on safety and offer practical strategies to foster a values-driven culture where safety and performance go hand in hand. Now, we encourage you all to be as active as possible throughout the conversation. There'll be time for questions and answers at the end. So there'll be a question and answer box within the session. So please feel free to pop them in there and we will go through them throughout. Also, today's webinar is being recorded and we'll be sending out a copy to all registrants after. So if you miss anything or you want to share it with your team, don't stress, you'll have access to the full session afterwards. So let's not wait any further and let's welcome Brett Solomon.
Well, good day. It's always a joy to be with you. It's an immense privilege to be part of the journey at myosh. And so I never take these opportunities for granted. And it's the first one. I didn't realize that I had that honor. So I'm really looking forward to this. And I think if I just get control of my screen quickly, it is always fitting that we just take a moment to have an acknowledgement of country. And from Sentis' side, we acknowledge the traditional custodians throughout Australia, and we recognize their connections to land, waters, and community. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, and we pay our respects to elders past and present. We extend respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. We do this, I love this, because we value Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander history, culture, and knowledge. I think this is for us is really special. It's not something we just want to do, but it is truly a value. And I think it is reflected in who Sentis is as a company. I love my job for so many reasons, but the sense of satisfaction to work with a company that truly we dedicate, we're passionate about making a difference in people's lives, as well as within companies and organizations. And I think many of you will relate to this. I was speaking to a dear friend. He used to be a CEO of an agriculture company, and we were chatting this morning, and his dedication towards safety is just unparalleled. I mean, he's so committed, and in the conversation is we get such a sense of excitement when we see and we hear stories of people going, we were going to do this, but because of the training, the exposure, the type of culture we have, we chose not to do that. Or maybe we weren't going to do something, but we knew it was the right thing, and now we did do it. And for us, we just celebrate for moments like that. But I'm fairly sure many of you have the same experience. Is so often as we don't see our successes, we don't see people making the right decisions. It's not like when someone was going to take a shortcut that we get an email going, I'm just going to use my name, get an email going, oh, Brett was going to take a shortcut and I can put it on my to-do list. Yes, one good decision. And so many times is our commitment and our passion to safety is not seen in tangible results. But there is something of a dedication, knowing that as we share our knowledge, our insights, our passion, and our commitment, that we are, at the end of the day, making a difference. And for me, there's very few things in life that I'd want to do besides that. Now, I got these off the internet last night, and I'm actually bewildered when the amount of time safety gets, the amount of focus, the amount of literally billions of dollars that is spent on safety across the world, and yet we still find people doing this stuff. It just, how's it possible? I mean, you're using an axle grinder on this guy's back, just holding a rope with this person outside of the window. Just go, I laughed out of almost out of awkwardness because it's so horrific. It's so, can we not comprehend the possibilities of what could go wrong? And it's probably out of all the images, the one that tickles me the most is this. And unfortunately, is we're seeing this so often that in spite of the massive investment that companies are putting in to creating a healthy, positive safety culture, is these type of behaviors are coming about all the time. And we've got to be asking ourselves, why? What is the dynamic behind this? And maybe it's when we understand the dynamic behind people's behaviors and what is driving this, then we can become in control. And instead of just throwing time, effort, money, initiatives into safety, is we can be far more strategic, intentional to get different types of outcomes. Too often as I hear this notion, and I know you've heard it, safety is our number one priority. And to which I go, whoop-de-doo, that's a great slogan. But at the end of the day, when it comes to decision making, is it the number one priority? Should it even be the number one priority? Can we not consider safety kind of within a collective, something that we are doing together? It's a culture. It's not a priority. It's just who we are. And so I'm fairly sure, I cannot comprehend that this gentleman here does not know that what he's doing standing on the handrail is taking a shortcut while putting up a safety banner. And I think what I appreciate about today's session, and thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, the fact that you've taken our time shows something of your dedication, is how do we move beyond slogans to having that internal buy-in where people are committed in a way that is changing their behaviors. I will not put up a banner like this in this manner. I will go get a ladder. Maybe I need a scaffolding, whatever it might be, is I'm going to put in the time and effort that we would have leaders that when they see this would go, oh, stop. Not because we want to reprimand the person, but because we genuinely care about their well-being. Now, maybe I'll get to the little scan barcode on the left-hand side in a moment. Sentis has been around for over 20 years now. We've done extensive research in that time period, and we've come up with a model that really helps us understand culture and the maturity that we have. Now, you can see there is that little scan bar on the left-hand side. Now, you can either scan it now, and at your own time, you just simply sign up, and it's about a 10-minute survey that will give you kind of obviously it's just you doing the survey, that will give you an indication of where your organization fits within this maturity. Afterwards, you will also get a copy of the presentation, and you can scan it there. But what we found is that every organization has a culture, and not only within an organization, different departments within the organization might have their own nuances, and it is just what it is. The issue is, how do we move our culture in the direction that we want? And unfortunately, there are cultures where people, if we come back to this, there is a mindset that safety is an inconvenience, safety is a hassle, safety is a waste of time, safety costs us too much money, and safety is seen as a negative, safety is seen as a problem, safety is seen as something that gets in the way of what we really want to do. And normally, if you come on site and you speak to these people, you get body reactions. There's resistance, and I laugh because I almost don't know how else to respond. It's not I'm laughing because it's funny, but you see it, you walk around side, and then you normally have a safety rep with you, and the moment they come on side is people scatter, or the conversation, you can see the conversation changes, and it's like they become almost army, like we've got to do the right thing, and then the moment the safety rep or the manager walks away, as everyone becomes almost normal again. And obviously we don't want to be there, and we want to see ourselves moved, and we don't even want to be in the public compliance. While it's better than counterproductive, it's still not where we want to be, because public compliance, what it's saying is that I do follow safety rules and procedures. as long as I'm being monitored. So the moment the she rep is not there, the moment the safety manager is not around, is I will do my job, but if I can take a shortcut, or maybe I'm not going to follow procedures, but I'm still going to get the same outcome, you know what, I'm going to do that. Or what we do is that we tend to throw either money or threat towards us to go, you know what, if let's say we have 1 million LTI free hours, is then you're going to get a barbecue, or we'll give you a safety jacket. And what's happening is I'm now complying, not because I want to, but because I want the jacket. I mean, who doesn't want a jacket? Who doesn't want a barbecue? So if you say I'm going to get a barbecue, boy, I'm going to work safely until you take the barbecue away. And what's going to happen is I'm going to fall back to the old way, or as if there's some sort of threat and go, if we catch you, well, I don't want to get into trouble. So what I do is I just watch out when you are around to threaten, and then I work well. And then when the threat walks away, or the camera gets turned or whatever it might be, is I change my behavior.
It's like when I drive and you know where the cops hide.
Yeah, the cops are, yeah.
And it's like, I'm going to go slow here, really slow, but then I'm going to nudge a little bit faster.
Yes. See, and it's such a great example because it really highlights the difference between public compliance and private compliance. It's unfortunate, it just is. I'm a South African. I've only been in Australia a year and a half now. And in South Africa, we don't have rules. We have recommendations. So when it comes to traffic laws, that is a very general South African mindset on the road. Is we've got on our phones, we've got the little Google, and I have a lady's voice, and she constantly tells me, she's got beep, beep, watch out, speed camera ahead. And what's happening is I do comply as long as I'm getting the beep, beep, watch out, camera ahead. And then I have unhelpful driving patterns until there was something that made a shift to going, I don't even have the beep beep on now, because I couldn't be bothered about beep beep. Whether there's a police person there or not, I don't drive safely for them. I drive safely because I have 2 kids in the car. I drive safely because I want to get to work, and I want to be able to live the life that I want to, and that is driving my decision making. And that's really, it's almost where we want to say should be the starting point, that we want to see people are committed to safety because it's the right thing to be. It's not even the right thing. It's what we want. I mean, I've never met any person you go, okay, can I get a volunteer? Who wants to hurt themselves? Let me volunteer. How many of you want to die today? Oh, please, can I be first? I mean, that's just ludicrous. No one will ever respond. And so we've got to go, why is it that no one wants to get injured? Do we still have cultures of public and counterproductive? It just doesn't make sense. And what I love about today, it just opens up the conversation to go, what is driving these types of mentalities? And we need to change the narrative. It's almost as if safety needs a new brand, a new way of seeing safety. Safety is not an inconvenience. It's not something that's been pushed upon me. It's an opportunity. It's giving me, I work in a hazardous environment, or there's a lot of hazards around me. I can potentially get injured, and I'm so committed to my own well-being that I'm going to make decisions. Why? Because I get massive benefit out of it.
It's a privilege.
It is a privilege. It's a joy.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm having a quality of life. But I want to take it one step further, where it's not only about my quality of life, it's not only about the decisions I'm making for me, it's for most people as they're working in a community. So whether it's a team of 3-4 people or within a division, is kind of going, I'm passionate about my own well-being, but also about the well-being of the people around me. Is I want to be, if I don't want to make decisions that could hurt someone else. Or is I care so much about other people that I'm willing to speak up, to go, what you see. Now, I don't want to come and call you out. I'm not trying to, upstage you. I'm not trying to belittle you. That's not my motivation. My motivation is I genuinely care about you. And because of that, I am going to speak. I'm saying, we don't do that. Would you mind slowing down? Before we proceed, won't you put your safety belt on? We're not just going to do the risk assessment and tick, 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 because that's a public compliance mindset. Is we're going to do the risk assessment and we're going to talk about it. We're going to look at the activities of the day, and we're going to read through it, and we're going to tick it off because we've evaluated that situation. And then the great thing is when you do private and collaborative so well, it just becomes the norm. And it's so awesome when you go into companies and there's not a sign saying reverse park, because just everyone has reverse parked. You don't need the sign saying hold the handrail, because everyone holds the handrail, including the what's it at head office, in the nice buildings. It's just how people function, and that's really is the dream. That's where we want to see that wherever we go is that we have this type of culture where safety is not something that is, it's not to the safety department. The safety department doesn't run safety. Is the safety department there is to support everyone so that they can be safe. It's just a total different mindset. Now, the things we're going to be saying today is not my opinion, is we've been doing extensive research. And in our research, this is just one research that we did. And if you look at the type of number, 73 organizational sites in different countries, just the amount of surveys, interviews that have taken place, it's brought about some fascinating results that tell us something. Now, again, when I look at these, it makes me excited because it shows that we've got quality data. This wasn't with 5 people and getting their opinion, but the type of organizations that we're dealing with, these are organizations that when you speak to the leadership, is they are committed to safety. These aren't companies that go, oh, we couldn't be bothered, or, this is irrelevant for us. There is something of a dedication. Just the fact that we've come has cost them money to come and do these interviews, to come and do these surveys. There has been an investment. And yet for me, what is startling is that in spite of that public dedication towards safety, if you go on site, there's going to be banners and there's going to be boards and people have got PPE. And in spite of all of that initiative, here's the shocker, is 86% of these sites still fall in a negative safety culture. And you kind of go, how's it possible that we're still on that side of the spectrum? Surely we need to recalibrate. We've got to be doing something differently. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that, is that you think about just the effort, the energy, the amount of conversations, the amount of paperwork, the amount of encouragement, the amount of money spent on things like PPE and barricades and guarding and all of that. And yet we're still not at the place that we want to be. And part of the survey, and some of these statements, these are all quotes, is shocking. Just as they come up, you're welcome to read them. But just middle last year, had a company come to me and say, hey, listen, Brett, we've just had a couple of incidents where, to be honest, the fact that someone didn't die was pure luck. They should be dead. We need immediate help. And I'm going, great. There's so many things we can assist with. We went down and we kind of got an understanding of what were the drivers behind this, what really needed to do, to happen, to change. And we go, okay, well, here's a suggestion, or more than a suggestion, here's a strategy. They're going, this is great. This relates to what they need to do. They see the value in this. And that was 9 months ago. So from a situation where they're going, we are so fortunate, people should be dead. We've called you to come and say, help us make a difference. We're going, we can make a difference. And 9 months has gone by and we still haven't even started. And you go, wait a minute, why are we doing all of this? Why? Now, just because I was speaking to my friend this morning who was a CEO in a similar type of industry, he's going, for him, that's fascinating, is to make a decision to upgrade the plant, which will be multiple millions, must probably take 3 months. So to get that over the line, but yet for a couple $1,000, it's taken 9 months and we still haven't got there. And you're going, but if you go to head office, they will have all the posters. Safety is number one priority. Safety is a core value. They'll have all the little trip first signs and how many people, how many days no one's got injured, and they've got all the risk registers. They have all of it. But when it comes down to the real, let's do something for safety, now there's so much bureaucracy. There's so much, we've got to check this and what about this? And I came to a stage and go, can I ask you a favor? Don't even use someone. You don't have to use this. Just make sure you're not injuring people. Go on a training course yourself. Read a book. Do something. But you cannot just be passive, because we might be having another conversation and then it's too late. And so there's these sentiments, these mindsets that we really need to be taking note of to going, are we doing the right things and are we doing them correctly? So out of the survey that we did is that there were certain results that came through that were very telling that we want to take note of. And so this is within these organizations. It doesn't mean it's with yours, but because of the percentages, there's a good probability that some of these you could relate to. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But one of them that stood out was the quality of safety procedures. And this is telling me, well, it's telling us several things, but I think the two that would stand out is how user-friendly are the procedures? Are they measuring the things we want to, or has it just become a tick and flick exercise? That it's actually not setting people up, asking the right questions for what they are doing. So maybe they're generic, or it's too long, or people don't understand. And we work with many companies that are in multiple places throughout the world, and the language barriers come into play. And so is the form signed? Yeah, it's signed. Has it been completed? Yeah, it's been completed. Is it in a file? Yeah, it's in the file. Does anyone have a clue? No. And so then the quality of the procedure itself is not user-friendly. It's not bringing about the results. But I think connected to this one is the attitude of the people filling out the form. So what happens is I come to work, it happens to be the morning shift, and what do? Is I grab my piece of paper. I no longer even look. I just go tick, 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 sign, and hand it in. So what is the attitude of our people towards, I go, and Christina, thank you so much, because I so appreciate your attitude. I suppose filling out a form is not a joy, but having the life I want to, that is a joy. So you know what? I'm going to fill out this form with dedication. Why? Because when I take note of the hazards, do we have the appropriate controls in place? Are we dealing with that in a way that's going to keep me safe? You know what? That's worth the time to fill this thing up properly. And so there's that type of mindset. There's that type of intent. Now, I'm going to just call him Johnny. So Johnny is, when I worked with him the first time, I think it was about 2.5 years ago, is we rolled out a training program at multiple sites. And so coming from South Africa, I hadn't moved to Australia at that stage, and fly in specifically to do this rollout with them. And was flabbergasted because when I arrived at the airport, who's sitting at the airport is Johnny. And I'm going, why are you here? He says, no, I want to see what's happening. I want to talk to my people. And I'm going, okay, we'll send you a video. No. And for 2 months, we rolled this out across the country. And of those 2 months, I think he went back. Now, I don't want to lie. I think he went back to the office maybe 4 days of the 2 months. Is he was there. Eventually, he could do the training because he had sat in so many sessions. I go, Johnny, aren't you getting bored? You've heard my same training now up to 15 times. Go back to the office. He goes, no, I want to demonstrate that we are committed to safety. He opened every session, and I so appreciate it. It was just so good. He's going, I want to tell you as the CEO, if anyone asks you to do something that is unsafe, you phone me. Here's my number. At no stage, we want you to do anything that will hurt you. You have my commitment. If you need anything, you can give me a call. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, I don't know why we even bother with training. We just need him to stand up and talk. There's something of that commitment. What CEO takes 2 months, not 2 days, 2 months out of his calendar just to go to each of the sites to be part of the training? He sat there. He's not like he went into meetings. No, okay, there were a few that he had to. He's the CEO. I'd expect that. But for the majority of the training, he's sitting there, he's interacting, he's creating this culture. And I'm going, oh my goodness, still today, I'm blown away. Then when it comes to the internal context, how ready are we for change? So if we come back to the safety procedures to go, okay, let's be honest, it's not effective. We need to change. Can we do that in the day? Or is it going to take a week? Is it going to take a month? Is it going to take a year? And it's having that ability to make easy decisions, to make it quickly, to make changes that aren't complicated, to make that changes. And then also, what's the openness of the people to change? So when you come along and say, we want to change the narrative of safety. See, that's not helpful. And it's having that openness to go, and we want to improve. We want to move wherever we are in the spectrum. We want to go to the place of citizenship. And is there that openness? in my opinion, it's just my opinion, but the willingness to report incidents would be so important to me, because the willingness to report incidents, just, it says so much about the culture. It says that there's an openness to admit. So for that to happen, high degree of trust. So the moment you have a low reporting culture, it says we are actually in trouble. I don't want to hear what I'm saying in context. It's like, I'm not so worried about the incident itself as much as that we don't have trust. That's my first concern. Then obviously reporting the incident because someone could have been injured. And how do we create that openness? And there's so many reasons, and we'll spend a little bit of time of why people don't report, and how do we create that willingness so that we can be proactive, not find who did it wrong. That's irrelevant to the equation. We've got to find out what is driving decisions or situations to put people in harm's way, or we couldn't control the hazard to work in the presence of danger, but to do it safely.
It's almost a red flag when there is a company with zero incidents or zero reporting, because that screams a culture of not feeling safe enough to do the reporting or have the trust there that they've got your back.
So true, so true. And so I think that would petrify me if there's no reporting. It really, that would make me afraid immediately. The second one that concerns me is because I know companies where you have to report. You have to do 5 a day or 5 a week or whatever. So there's a target, you must. And then what happens is I go and I read the reports and they're all the same. So I'm going, okay, so now we're just lying to each other.
Tick and flick exercise.
Yeah, we're just ticking through the process. Or even worse is I'm going, people are putting on something that is really an issue and we've done nothing about it. So why should we report something new when we haven't done the previous one? So I'm going, the moment we're starting to repeat the same thing, it's telling us something, and we need to be able to respond to that. And then, which would lead us to the next one, is, are we recognizing people for doing the right things? So, if I make a stand for safety, if I take time out to do a proper walkabout, when I see someone taking a shortcut and I speak up, is there, hey, that was a great job. That's what we want to see. Or am I belittled? Oh, you're just trying to be the best person. I don't know what the term in Australia would be. In South Africa, we'd say, oh, you just want to suck up to the boss. There's that type of notion. And so we actually bring people down in how we reward or recognize them. I think the flip side is looking at what are my targets? What am I measured against? So if my KPIs is in certain production targets, well, I'm going to do whatever I want because I want the jacket. I want the bonus. I want to get my salary. I mean, who doesn't? We all want that. But if my KPIs or my targets doesn't have safety integrated into it, the very target could be causing me to rush. It could be setting me up to make decisions to put getting the job done at the cost of safety. So we've got to be looking and go, how do we, because we've got to do a job. I mean, we're at a work. We're not just to be buddies. There is targets that need to be met, but how do we set people up to meet those expectations in a way that doesn't compromise safety? And so from our survey, these were kind of the primary ones that we want to be reflecting and say, are these relevant to us? And if they are, let's take note, let's take the right type of action. And so what we see is all of that mindset is telling us that safety is the narrative, the story, how we frame safety is a cost. It's a hassle. It's inconvenient. It's getting in the way of doing the job. And so we've got to find a different way of approaching safety. And you'll see at the bottom of the screen is typically with that approach is I see safety and the decisions I made is safety has been forced upon me. It's the government must tell me, the CEO must tell me, the safety rep must tell me, or the piece of paper must tell me. And I attend the safety meetings or the toolbox talks, and there's something of this type of mindset, or I'm playing on my phone, and someone else must do it to me. And obviously that will never get us to the type of culture that we are looking for. So what do we want to be looking at? And there's something of safety is a currency. So to be able to buy the things I want in life, I wanted a new car. I need money. I don't just arrive at the dealership and go, can I have that car? They're going, well, you can. It's going to cost so much. Well, I don't have money. well, then you can't get it. And there's something about, I want to have a certain quality of life. I want to be able to go home at the end of each day and to be with the kids. I want to be able to go to their school productions. I want to be able to, walk around and just go on holiday, all of these type of things. And I see, let's take the driving now, when I exceed the speed limit, when I'm not wearing my safety belt, when I'm texting and driving, is what's happening is it puts me in a situation that escalates the possibility of being in an incident. And so then it's going to cost me, because the moment I go to hospital, I can't be with the kiddies. Let's say I lose my eyes or my hands or whatever, it's taking away the quality of my life, where I go, no, being safe, it's the currency, it's the money that allows me to buy, to afford, to enjoy the life that I want. And now what's happening is I'm working safely and I'm being part of the safety culture because it's coming from within me. It's not being forced upon me, it's internal. And that's really where we want to be, is we want to shift the story, the mindsets, the challenges to go, what are you going to get out of this? And let's make decisions that are going to take us there. So that was just kind of setting the stage of where we are going in the next half an hour. And this is most probably, I almost want to say, the most important model that we at Sentis have experienced in the last 2 to 3 years. And it's been really fantastic that in most probably the last 20 years, but more so in the last 10 years, is there has been an explosion of focus on keeping people physically safe. So if you have a look at the amount of PPE and the training and the equipment and dealing with hazards and critical controls, all of that, there's really been a significant move in keeping people physically safe. And there's so much to celebrate about that. We're still not where we want to be, but if we look to where we were 15 years ago, 10 years ago, massive movement. But what we need to realize, and we're already starting to see this, most probably in the last 2 years, but we're not there yet, is to look at the social experiences that people have. Because if we go back to some of the comments in the third or fourth slide, I can't remember which slide it was, is I can be given PPE, and I think it's not so much do I have it, it's how do I feel about the process of it. And it's the experience I have, because if I see someone giving me PPE as it's just a process, it's just something that I have to do. So my experience, even of a good thing, is I'm not going to wear the hard hat when someone's not looking. It's I'm being given a harness, but when no one's around, I'm going to take it off. So it's even when we do look after people's physical safety, what's the experience of how the equipment is given? Is it something that we're just going through the motions? In the same way, what are our social experiences? Do people feel safe with each other? Is there enough trust? And that really would be the key word. Is there enough trust to be able to go, I'm uncomfortable right now. You're asking me to meet this target, and I feel, keyword, I feel the only way to get there is to take a shortcut. The only way to get that done is to rush. And what's happening? I'm feeling uncomfortable. Now, maybe I can do it without rushing, but we've got to deal with the feeling, the emotional, the experience in that moment. If I see someone, again, I'm just going to say Johnny, I see Johnny taking a shortcut, or I even see Johnny have an attitude that's just not helpful for the culture we want. Is there enough trust to go, hey, Johnny, with all respect, we don't do that here. Johnny, we are committed to say, Johnny, are you okay? I think that must probably be a way better place to start off with, that you are now doing something that we know is not like you. Because if I don't have the freedom, the honesty of having those type of conversations where I can raise my hand, where I'm willing to report, is we have a concern here. And so for me, safety is not just about people's physical well-being, but also the social dynamic. Do I want to go to work? Is the conversations that I'm having, does it pull me into want to be more safe? Or is it because of the group that I'm around, the people that I'm interacting, that I don't want to be part of the group, or I don't feel they care about me? Massive word. Do I feel cared for? Do I feel respected, listened to? And so how often do we as leaders think about these issues? And most probably the phrase that personally, because of my background, that I really despise the most is, oh, this is soft skills. I'm going, how can it be solved? This is essential. This is critical for me to be effective as a leader. And then to bring this together is, what is the psychology? What's the internal discussion that is happening in my brain? Because I can drive to work and someone can cut me off. And what happens is I'm having a conversation and I'm annoyed and I'm irritated, and I arrive to work, I'm given a physical safe environment, but internally I'm annoyed and I'm kind of irritated. And guess what? I start to make decisions based on the internal dialogue. I go to a toolbox talk meeting. Oh, I've got to be here. See, that's an internal dialogue, and I want to have discussions about that. I want to be able to, why do you disengage? Why do you tick, tick, tick? Why do you stand on the handrail while putting up a safety sign? What's going inside? Are you okay? How do we come to a place that I want to go to a safety meeting and contribute? I don't want to just, can we get over with this and then let's go do the real work? That's a dialogue that is concerning. And so the real encouragement is to go in, if we want to have the safety outcomes that we want, if we want to see people that are resilient, they have capacity, they can, the work is going to get done and it's going to be done with excellence. There's that discretionary effort. So that's that internal locus of control. We cannot afford to see safety just as someone's physical well-being. Because if I don't feel, let's put it in the reverse, if I feel pressurized from my group to take a shortcut, it puts my physical well-being at risk. If I have, my psychology is not right, I see safety as an inconvenience, I see it as, I'm just not focused here in my thinking, physically I could get injured. If I don't have the right social dynamics, is I'm not going to raise my hand. And so we cannot afford, if we want to have this, go way beyond compliance, is we're going to have to be looking at safety in a far more dynamic way. And so what's happened is the moment we start to see safety beyond just physical, but it's comprehensive and it's intertwined. It's not one or the other. It's just everything we do, is what's going to happen is we're going to start to shift thinking around, I don't want to be here, to go, no, I am a valuable contributor in creating the culture that we are looking for, and we're going to be making the shifts that we want to have. What are sites doing well that we found is it's this vision of safety is, it's not just a priority on a banner, it's based on everything we do. Is we constantly talk about safety. We don't talk about safety at a safety meeting and then production and every other meeting. No, it's just when we have production meetings, safety is part of that. When we talk about the vision of the company, safety is part of that. When the CEO is on site, there's obviously expectations, and safety is part of that. And there's just this constant communication that safety is paramount. It's integrated into everything we do. But it breaks my heart when I meet executives who put out 8 hours a year to go on site. A year. I'm going, how is it possible that you stay in your office and your only experience of reality of what your people are seeing is, one VFL every 2 months? I'm going, that's craziness. We've got to get out of the office to find out what is happening, so that you're showing it's not only showing your commitment, but also it's truly connecting and understanding. What's the communication amongst team members? Are we talking? Are we sharing learnings? When we have a shift changeover, we go, this is what we saw. We had this hazard change. This is how we dealt with it, or it hasn't been dealt with it. So when you start your shift, please make sure that you deal with that hazard, put in the right controls so that you can also go home safely. And there's constantly that type of communication. And people are taking responsibility and go, yes, the CEO has a role to play. Yes, the safety has a role, department has a role to play, but so do I. And this is my 50%. This is my attitude. This is my commitment. And together, collectively, we're going to make the changes and the advancements that we want. And then what's happening is we're all in this together. And so if someone calls me out, is I don't get attitude. There's a sense of thank you. Oh my goodness, I almost made a mistake there. And we support each other on this journey. And I think and I'm sure you've experienced this, is so often is, I hear this question so many times. How do we get people to comply? It's like compliance is the goal. If we can just get people to comply, victory. Woo-hoo-hoo. And I'm going, no, compliance is still public compliance. It's not even on the positive side of the maturity model. And go, compliance is actually the starting point. We want to get to that place. It's bare minimum. We shouldn't get excited when people comply. It should actually break our hearts to go, are we still only there? How do we get it that people, not everyone has to be rah-rah and extroverted, but there's something of a galvanized commitment to moving forward and to doing the right things for myself as well as everyone else.
I guess there would be a staggered approach too, though. Some companies would not even be near compliance. And so to get to a point of compliance, it's going to be a part of like, oh my God, we're here, we're complying. So there is going to be those companies that are pumped to just be at compliance. And then once you're there, then let's strive for like excellence. Yeah.
And I really thank you for saying that, because if I am counterproductive, moving to compliance is significant.
Exactly.
And I do want to rejoice about that. I don't want to go, oh, we useless, we no good. No, look at the changes that we have made and to understand. So when we talk about safety culture and safety climate, is the specialists tell me is that safety culture is like someone's personality. It doesn't change easy and it doesn't change quickly, where safety climate is like my emotions. I can have 1,000 emotions within one day. So to shift safety climate is relatively easy. To shift culture, it's going to take dedicated, committed investment over a long period of time. And so when we do see the shifts, there is much to be celebrated. But compliance still for us is only the beginning. Well, it's not the beginning point, but now we're only starting the healthy conversation. And so if you look at so many safety initiatives, is the idea is to get compliance is getting people to behave the right way. That's what it's saying. We want the appropriate behavior, and we're going to get that behavior. Let's find the attitudes. Why did that person think it was acceptable to stand on the railing when he put up the safety banner? Why was it acceptable that someone would hold a rope while someone is on the outside instead of having a scaffolding there? What's the thinking? Why do people feel resistant to safety? Why do people disengage? So I'm not overly concerned about the behavior. I want to know the thinking and feeling behind the behavior, because when we touch that, guess what? We then touch the behavior. And it's having these conversations to go, how do we feel towards my physical safety? How do I think about my teammates? Is there enough trust? Do I feel safe with my colleagues? And what's happening with inside of me? That's that thinking and feeling internally. And so wouldn't it be great if our conversations didn't only gravitate to behavior, but would also have a strong focus on what people think and feel on a day-to-day basis? So at the end of the day, it's moving the control of my life, the decision making, and there's certain realities to going, what do I have control over? Reality, to my dismay, I don't have control over my kids. I want to have control over them. I can try enforce control over them, but they still have their own will. I can rant and rave, and sometimes I get change of behavior and sometimes I don't. The reality is the only thing I have 100% control over is what I think, feel, say, and do. It's the only thing I have control over. But the good news is I can influence my kids. I can influence my colleagues to think differently, to act differently. And so going, what is my attitude? What is my example? What are the things I'm saying about safety, about each other, about the company, about meeting targets? What's my thinking about that? Because I have control on that one. But then also being part of controlling is, how do I influence others, and what are the decisions I'm making to bring that about? So with all of that in mind, I just want to quickly run through, and I want to encourage you, if you don't have our positive safety book, please just go on the website. This just goes into detail. It unpacks all of these concepts. This is such an incredible book. It's super user-friendly, easy to read, but so many golden nuggets. So in the next couple of minutes is lead with vision. And we've spoken about many of these concepts already, so I don't need to spend a lot of time. But what are we talking about? What is the vision? Where's the passion? You know, how often is safety mentioned? And And is it promoting the type of behaviors that we are looking for? Is it guiding our behavior to go, you know what, maybe at that company, that was acceptable, but at this company, this is how we do it here. We are committed. You know what, in this company, if you take 10 minutes out so that you can do it safely, that's okay. Because this is our vision, and we constantly communicating it, and we celebrate when people make the appropriate decisions, and without reprimanding and belittling people because we want them to feel emotionally safe, is we do call people out when they do things that is inappropriate. This one here, this is a fascinating one because there's such a spectrum in the safety community when it comes to collecting data. And I think the real one here is to go in, A, am I collecting data? B, what data am I collecting? And am I making the right decisions based on the data that I have? And so it's going, firstly, am I collecting data? Let's make sure we are collecting data, and then let's make sure we're collecting data that's helping us and understanding the different data. So if I look at our TRIFR rates and our LTI rates, those are lagging indicators, and there's benefit to that, but it's very limited and can be it could be misguiding, because how many incidents have taken place that because there's no trust is they're not even reported. So I can go through a whole year and go, we're an awesome because no one got injured. And I go, no, we're not awesome. It's just that no one reported that we got injured. So what are some of the things to say, how do we go beyond just measuring our lagging indicators to go and say, how do we start to measure our leading indicators? How do we start to measure the things that we want to see? How do we get, not just if we look at leading indicators, but also how do we collect stories? How do we get people to come and share the type of culture that we want and that we already have? So Christine, if we we were here in this culture and we've moved here. Yeah, we're not at Citizen yet, but here are some of the things that we've done, and we celebrate that, and we're collecting that information. So I really want you to encourage you is to go, what is the information that we have? Is it the best information? And is it allowing us to make strategic decisions that's moving away from a reactive approach to a very strong proactive approach where we can celebrate the movements that we have seen? This notion of a complete three-dimensional, not a one-dimensional approach to safety where it's only physical, but having a three-dimensional approach is going, how do I look after someone's physical, but also social, as well as the psychology? And we have this as a basis in everything that we do. It's about a complete person's well-being, and we just integrate it into all of our discussions. The fact that someone goes home physically well, but they're depressed, should concern us. If I see someone, don't do that. See, now I've stopped them physically, but I've caused them internally to be emotional, to become scared or whatever it might be. So how do I keep that person physically safe, but also that there's a mental process, and it's grounded in everything. It's not saying, oh, this is the HR department, this is the safety department. No, this is critical for everyone. I think this is the heartbeat at the end of the day, is we care. I'm not doing this because the government says we must do it. I'm not doing it because corporate says we must do it. I honestly care about you. I want you to go home safe in your entire being. Everything else is genuine. It's honestly that way. If this gets me into trouble, then so be it. I want to say this is, but I don't care about my people. Maybe I shouldn't be a leader. Maybe I should step out and go do something else. Is that if I'm going to be a leader, if I have a position of authority, my goodness, it's almost criminal not to care about people. The reason we do the meetings and do the training and give you, the safety equipment, and the reason we have all of these procedures and protocol is because I care. We're not doing procedures for the sake of procedures. We're not filling out forms for the sake of filling out forms. We're not attending meetings for the sake of attending meetings. We're doing all of this because we want to help you be alert, to have the competencies to do your job, to be able to deal with hazards and to put in the right controls. Why? Because we care about you. It's our heartbeat. It's the motivation for everything that we do, which would then bring us to this, is that if we do care about our people and they're standing on the handrail, and people are outside of the building and you're holding them with the rope or a ladder and pot on a ladder, is instead of going and reprimanding, what in you made that decision? I'm curious. I really want to know, what is the driving? Oh, because we've got to get the job done. Okay, so now I'm no longer worried the fact that they did that. I'm worried about the pressure they are experiencing to make that decisions. Why didn't we report? Well, the last time we reported, nothing happened. Now I'm more worried that nothing happened, that the fact that they didn't report. Why didn't you report? Well, because the last time we reported, that person got fired. Okay, wait a minute. Now we need to change our processes. So I want to understand the dynamics behind the attitudes, the thinking, the decisions that people are making. I want to understand which processes are working and which are not. So why? Because I care, and we will change what we need to change so that we're going to get the culture we simply want to do, we want to have. And let's find a way to, we're busy and life is complex, and we're bombarded with so much information, so much pressure all the time. How can we translate all of this in the most user-friendly, most easy to understand, so that what I can do, I just ingrain it. I could just go, is when I do this, I'm going to make this decision. And here are the motives behind this. So it's finding ways of taking the complexity of safety, because safety can be complex. There are so many different elements that come into play, and are going, for this person in this environment doing these jobs, here's what is essential. And everyone knows it, everyone understands it, and everyone makes the decision to that. Now, it's very easy to have a slideshow with how many 4 bullet points. Great to put that up here to make this one happen. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some effort. But when we get it right, it's fantastic. Because we care about people, so let's find what they're doing right. Because if I care about people's psychology and all I do is find what you're doing wrong, I'm going to become demotivated really quickly. I'm going to disengage really quickly. But there's something I've never had anyone. Just trying to think of a practical example. Let's say I'm doing a good quality job, and someone comes to me, "Oh, Brett, we love your work." "You do? Well, I'm not going to do it anymore." I mean, that's never going to happen. When you come along and say, "Hey, Brett, you're doing a good job." "I am. I know I am. I'm the best. I glow in the dark." And guess what? Is I want to do it again. And that's what's great, is when we find people doing the things we want and we celebrate it, guess what? They want to do it more. But when we find what people are doing wrong, and we shame them. Now, there's times that if someone's doing something wrong, we need to address it. But when we shame people, what they're going to disengage. And worse is they're going to become rebellious. And then we're back to counterproductive. At the end of the day, it's not just about me. Is how do we make an impact in my team? How do we make an impact in the organization? How do we take this mindset and to our families, to our communities? How do we take maybe we're dealing with physical safety, but, how do we take the investment and the understanding? How do we make an impact on the people around us when it comes to their personal psychology or the social dynamics? And we're going to go, let's be part of the broader solution. And I think it's with that, and it will bring me to an end, is that it's such a privilege for us at Sentis, is not just for us to be a company, but we've got this positive safety community. And I really want to encourage you, if you're not part of the community, this is a great opportunity where we frequently just have moments, not for Sentis is sharing stuff, but we're getting professionals like yourself on the call, and we're having these conversations of how does it work at Anglo? Well, at PHP, we do it this way. And what's happening is we're learning from each other and go, oh, that's great in mining, but here in ag or maybe in utilities, this is what we found. And everyone's going, oh, this is great stuff. And what are we doing? We're encouraging each other. We're supporting each other. We're bringing our expertise to each other. So if you're not part of the community, you are missing out on a beautiful opportunity. There's a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to call it quits. It's been so nice sharing with you.
We have some questions and some comments as well, but just on this positive safety community from Sentis, I am part of that as well. And it's one of those things where you get an email reminder of something that's been added, or like a tag at everybody, and you think, oh gosh, I haven't looked in there for a while, and then you go in there and you're like, oh my God, it is endless value. And like the little note then said, it's free. So I will send out that QR code and a link to jump in there, so everybody can jump in there after the session. Just going over some questions, though, if we have a few minutes. Yep, we've got a few minutes, so we'll just do that. One of the things that I thought was a very valid point, just going back to what we were speaking about before with leaders and being honest with themselves, Roxanne said, honestly, though, what leader is going to be honest with themselves if they don't care for their team and then step away? Realistically, these leaders are interested in protecting themselves and keeping their job. And I thought that was a really valid point, because, I mean, what leader would, unless they had somewhere else to go? But it's just, there's always another side to the spectrum, isn't there? Like it's not like this is a best case scenario type situation, but
So I think, and thank you for that comment. And Roxanne, I think, unfortunately, too many of us relate to this reality. And it really, this breaks my heart to go, this is my opinion, is having a position of authority does not make you a leader. So you can have a position of authority and just be a supervisor or a manager, but it doesn't mean you're a leader. And then I know people who've got no title, but just because of the type of person they are leaders. And for me, it's criminal that people have positions of authority that don't care about their people. And I wish we could physically remove them, or go get an attitude adjustment. Can we put some care droplets on you or something of that nature?
Another great question, Reese says, is how do we manage relationships with stakeholders who operate outside of our organisation's influence, especially when their standards or reporting practices differ from theirs? So he's gone on to say, he had a principal contractor ask him why his organisation was reporting so many incidents, albeit they were minor. He found it hard to explain to him that the other contractors were simply not reporting.
This is, and again, particularly if you're a contractor within a different within a different company, and I've seen this so many times, is the expectations from the company is more lax. And even worse is that the contractor will be working with the primary client and in collaboration, but the standard of the workers at the client and the work effort and the dedication of the contractor is actually in conflict. And this is where, well, it's not easy. There is no simple answer. From the high extreme to going, you know what, I'm not willing to work here, and actually cut the losses and go, I'm going to go work somewhere else. So that would be on the far extreme there, to going, well, this is money and I need to get income. This is not rah-rah land. But then it's having those internal conversations to go, this is not ideal. Bringing the team together and go, while they say this is how we're going to do it. Let's be honest. This is not right. This is not safe. This is not our culture. And find a way. How are we going to work within these realities in the most safest way possible? And I wish I had those droplets or a magic wand. And it's unfortunate that we're still seeing these things, but it is reality.
It is, yeah. Well, I think that's all we have time for today. Brett, as always, it is just an absolute pleasure chatting to you. As someone has commented, who was it? Let me just Charles, who has said, Brett, your passion and enthusiasm is amazing, and I could not agree more. So thank you so much to everybody that has joined us, and if you've made it this far, thank you again. I will be sending this recording out to everybody that has registered, as well as a little feedback survey. So I would love all of your input and your thoughts and your comments on how we can continually evolve these webinars and make them more beneficial for you. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please reach out to either Brett and the Sentis team or myself here at myosh. We are always around and so very happy to help. But I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe, and we hope to see you on the next webinar. Again, thank you so much, Brett.
Have a great one. All the best to everyone.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.